welcome back to Waiting in Laodicea. I'm your host, A.T. Martinez, and today we're going to finalize our three-part series on the movie series of God's Not Dead. We're going to be looking at the 2018 version of God's Not Dead, number 3 in the listing, and this one involves the pastor who has been president in both the first one and the second one, and his friend who is there visiting. In this one, the community around the church, which is the college area, gets offended at the fact the church exists, and they want the church gone. And at one point, a student who is mad because his girlfriend wants to break up with him because she's a Christian and he's not, and he thinks it's cute to make fun of her beliefs, not realizing that it's his attitude towards her beliefs that are the problem. He blames her beliefs. So he decides to vandalize the church. And in the process of the vandalization, an accident happens, and the guest speaker, the preacher from Nigeria, dies. Now he is obviously being unknown to everyone around him. He's being sought for murder because his actions possibly led to the death of this man. Based on this attitude of the community, the college decides it's going to eminent domain the church's property and demolish the church. Now our Pastor Dan, I believe his name is, decides to fight this. This is his church. He grew up in this church. His father was the preacher at this church. And he's going to try to fight to save his church. Well, the fight gets very volatile, to the point that at one point, people are actually throwing rocks through the windows of the president of the college, who, in reality, didn't really want to go after this church. The board made him do it. It gets out of hand. Things get kind of contentious. In the end, it looks like, the preacher's going to win. Because by coming after him simply because of their beliefs, the college was wrong. And he was able to demonstrate this somewhat rather easily. Now, instead of winning his lawsuit, he gave up his lawsuit and agreed to move the church. Now, granted, this church was already destroyed, burned down. He took the settlement, which was not. If you think eminent domain, they give you a good price, no. They give you as little as they can get away with giving. But he decided to do this because of how much division was being caused by it. He went out. He apologized. First off, he apologized for attacking the student that threw the brick that started the whole problem. He had forgotten that what we are as Christians is supposed to be love. Now, was there parts of his anger that were correct? Yes. This man's actions led to added to the possibility of his friend's death. So it's an understandable anger. How he responded to that anger was not acceptable. And it dawned on him that he had messed up. So he apologized first to the kid, helped to get the kid released, and then he gave up the lawsuit and chose to move the church because he realized something. The church is not the building. It's the people. Now, as the third step in the God's Not Dead trilogy, the first one was atheists attacking Christians. The second one was the school district attacking Christians. And lastly, we have the state attacking the church. It shows the way society is today. A lot of people are more than willing to be tolerant of anything except Christianity. I mean, it seems like there's no room for for God on campus anymore, or at least not a Christian God. You may have every other type of organization on the campus, you know, but having Christian groups, well, that's right up there with having conservative groups. They don't want you there. Why? Because you're invading their realm. Yes, over the last several decades, colleges and classrooms have become property of the atheists and the non-Christian. Just like they no longer belong to conservatives. That is the headquarters of Marxism, of socialism, communism. None of those beliefs endorse the idea of God. Because in those beliefs, in order to practice them, you have to be willing to force people to change their views. Not convince them, force them. At the barrel of a gun. All right. The preacher in this story gave up the lawsuit because of the division. And the division in the community was not spreading love, but was spreading hate. In this case, I agree with the preacher. In other cases, it would depend on the case, on how you stand up for your beliefs. And that is what this whole series is about. Standing up for what you believe in a socially acceptable way. Now, I put the part of the socially acceptable in there myself. Because there's a right way to stand up for your beliefs and a wrong way to stand up for your beliefs. And I'm covering this in the two big episodes that are covering this week. Now, it's kind of ironic that in all of these examples, the university is against Christianity because they don't want the students to be indoctrinated, and yet that's exactly what they do. Even now, our regular public schools, our high schools, our junior highs, and even our elementary schools, they are going out of their way to indoctrinate our students. Critical race theory is being taught all over the country, and it has become a hot-button issue, with teachers' unions coming out and defending the right to tell the students that because you're white, you're a racist. Indoctrination is everywhere through our public schools. And the further you go into the public schools, the more you realize that the other part they're trying to teach our students and our children is that God is dead. Now, this line, God is dead, is a famous line that was spoken by Friedrich Nietzsche. And I always remember the comeback line. You see it's basically, in today's terms, it's a meme. You have Nietzsche says God is dead. God says Nietzsche's dead. Only one of them is right. Friedrich Nietzsche is dead. He's been dead for a while. God, our God, is not dead. And standing up for him sometimes will make you the target of a professor, of a school board, of a university, and soon even your own government, state, federal, local, will come after you because you had the effrontery, the nerve to stand up for what you believe in against what they say. Now, having your own personal beliefs is supposedly guaranteed to each and every member of the United States. All citizens have a right to their own religious beliefs. And we have a right to say what we believe. Both of these rights are covered in the First Amendment. The right to freedom of speech and the right to religious freedom. But that's being eroded. People are eating at this and calling it hate speech. Is it hate speech? No. Have hateful people been using this? Yes. And we got to remember as Christians that we're supposed to stand up for what we believe in, but do so with love. Now, for the three movies, they are fantastic movies. I love them all. They're well worth going out and buying, having a copy of, and watching them again over and over again, because they are so moving, they are so compelling, and they will wake your spirit up, and you will sit down afterwards and be praising God. The one thing that stops you would be the fact that this is a movie, but don't let that stop you. So it's not a real occurrence. So this didn't really happen. You know what? It's still, God is great. Our God is wonderful, and God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please tune into the longer episodes this week as we continue talking about how to stand up for God. Thank you all, and you guys have a wonderful night. Don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, your neighbors, and everybody else. And please, if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help support this ministry so we